everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my speed up and voiceover version of the Art Joy of Sharing live stream show today, 5/24. We were working on wooden substrates, and I decided to use this Daler Rowney pallet board, which is made out of some sort of wood, as my base for my project today. I thought, artist, art palette seemed to make sense. I also have some beat up old brushes that I don't use anymore. And then I, of course, gessoed the palette to start out with some white gesso. And then because you always see these images of palettes that have drops of color on them, I decided to make some texture using a Crafter's Workshop stencil that's called Circles, something about circles. I'll link it in the description box below. And I dried that, and then I wanted to add some more texture by gluing on this Maya Road craft colored paper doily. And I used matte medium for that. And then for everything else, I used, I ended up using E6000, which I found in these little tubes, which makes so much sense because every time I try to use E6000 in the big tube, then the next time I tried to open it and use it again, it's dried up. And then I have to open it from the bottom or poke holes in it. It's frustrating. So I really think that these tiny tubes are a good idea. I basically used one up and threw it away. So these are grunge board punch out die cuts of wings that come from a whole sheet of different types of wings, and I glued those on with E6000. Then I was trying to do the combination of hot glue and E6000 because the hot glue will stick it instantly, but it's not really a permanent solution. But then if you put the E6000 on there, then the hot glue holds the item on there until the E6000 is dry. But I believe I have broken my hot glue gun. I could not get it to work. So I ended up just gluing everything with E6000, which is a stinky glue, it's a permanent glue. So I put my little paintbrushes on there, a little 2x2 canvas on top of that, and I tucked another little wooden butterfly underneath there to kind of fill in the space. And then I put a few more wooden butterflies on, one up in the corner, one down in the lower corner, and then I put one on the canvas as well. And that one has punch outs. It's all punched out in the wings. The others are just a basic silhouette shape. I also added this little grunge board crown. Then I got out my metal stuff and I found these metal keys and locks that I had. And I thought the keys looked cute as a body and head for the little butterfly shapes. So I glued all those on. And then the little lock eventually over by the wooden letters that spell art. I put it over there to kind of balance the composition. And then I was pretty happy with everything after that, I think. Oh, I added a few wire pieces, a wire butterfly up at the top, and then the lock over by the art. Where is the lock? Come on, put it on there. Oh, it's still laying there. It hasn't been glued down yet. That's what it is. I haven't glued these down yet. Okay. So once everything was glued, I was kind of having a conundrum because in live you don't have drying time. And I wish that I could have just kind of set those aside and let everything dry for a few hours, but I couldn't. So I just went ahead to the next step, which is to apply gesso. And I was trying to decide white gesso, black gesso, white gesso, black gesso. What do I want? And I had also showed the new set of Finnabair Art Extravagances patina paste, and I polled the audience. I said, would you guys rather see me do this new product that I haven't worked with on this, or would you rather see me do my regular thing, which is probably to end up with a lot of bright colors? And they voted to see the Finnabair patina pastes. So that's what I decided to do, and I decided to cover everything with black gesso and then do the patina paste over the top. So I made sure that I used a stiff brush as I was doing all this gesso and going in and around, and I turned the project over and I tipped it and till I could make sure that as much of the little cracks and crevices of all that different textural stuff was covered with black gesso. This is just plain um, Liquitex gesso, you know, nothing fancy, but it works really well. It's a good full coverage black matte surface to start my next bunch of painting on. So pretty happy with that. I'm glad I chose black. I was second guessing myself for a while, but then I ended up really liking it. So then I got out the pastes, and they are they are interesting. They are different than I expected. But there's one called mint green, one called blue, and one called brass, and they all come together in a set in a box. And I got these at Michael's with my 40% off coupon as I was there buying something for my mom. I saw them and I thought I'm going to try that. So I started out with the lightest color, which is mint green, and it is sandy. It has a lot of texture in it. It's crunchy, and in fact, it is so dry and crunchy that a lot of it flaked off. But I think that that is the intent of the product. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That's the way it's supposed to be because you're getting a really grungy, bumpy feel to this patina because it's what it's supposed to be is a real something that's rusted for so long that it has created a patina on the top of it, which would be crusty and crunchy and very matte colored. So I covered pretty much everything with that. Of course, the black gesso stands out from the background. And then I decided I wanted some copper color on there. That doesn't come in the kit, but that's just PBO iridescent copper paint. And I wanted some extra colors. There's 3 colors in the set, and I ended up using 6 colors if you count black to do my project. So I was just kind of putting it around behind things on everything. And then I moved on to the next color, which they call blue, but is actually a turquoise. And it's not as crunchy, but it still has some texture in it, and it's still very thick and pasty because it is paste. I guess I thought they were paints. I didn't realize that they were as thick and whatever as they are. So once I got all the blue done in a few areas, not as much coverage as the green, less coverage, then I started to do highlighting with the brass, and it is a lot thinner. You could put it on with your finger. I did use a brush, but you could put it on with your finger easily. In fact, I think I did go back and do that a little bit. But this just highlights the very tops of things so that you get a lot of detail coming out on your project. So I had a lot of fun with these. They worked out really great. They're all, you know, nice in a nice color set that you don't have to think about. And I could have left it like this because it looks pretty cool, but you know, I don't ever leave anything. So I got out some black acrylic paint and watered it down, really watered it down with some water. And then I'm using a small wet brush and then a larger dry brush. So in my right hand, I'm putting on some color with a small wet brush, and then I'm blending the color around with the dry brush that's a larger flat brush to make sure that I get a good blend. And I'm putting all this black around the elements to make them stand out from the background. The one that I particularly wanted to stand out was the word art. It was really blending in with all those colors. It was flat, and I wanted it to look more textural. So I put it around that. I put it around everything else. So I was kind of like adding shadows underneath all the pieces. And then I still thought I needed something. So I got my Liquitex extra heavy white gesso and a very dry, stiff brush, almost a stenciling brush. And I just took the tiniest bit and highlighted like the top edges of things as if the light source was coming from the top. And I was just really pretty happy with that. That seemed to finish it for me. And then I did go back with my finger with a little bit more of that brass colored paste from the set, just to blend a little bit in some places where I got too much white. And then I added some words from a Tim Holtz set, and I was pretty much done. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question. Go over and subscribe to Art Joy of Sharing Livestream if you want to see this stuff going on live, when you can ask questions in live time. You can also, of course, go and watch the recording of that, and that's perfectly acceptable as well. So I think that's it for me for today. Bye-bye.